I'm Shelley Miles. We are talking about addiction and recovery with our friends from Soba, Texas. Very passionate about helping you find your way. Joining us to tell us more, Greg Hanley is here. He's the CEO and founder of the Soba Recovery Center. Alex Dragici is the director of operations, and actor Daniel Baldwin stopping by to share his thoughts as well. It's good to see you guys. Thanks for coming.
Good morning.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
You guys have a good holiday?
Yep.
Yeah?
Yep.
This is a tough time of year for a lot of people, I know, and I want to tell people about Soba Recovery, because if you are looking for a spot that's close to home that can help you, whether it's going there for some time or maybe as an outpatient, there are a lot of great people on staff to help you get through whatever it is you're going through. You guys have been in San Antonio now for almost 3 years?
Yeah, around
Is that right?
3 years.
3 years? And for people that have never heard of Soba, Texas, tell us a little bit about it.
It's long-term treatment, co-occurring disorders. So it's not just treating the drugs and alcohol, it is treating what the underlying issues are.
Okay.
So we have all master's level clinicians, and we do individualized treatment.
We've had a chance to meet so many people that have worked with you. We've also been able to talk with people who have gone through and graduated from the program there. And if you were looking for a little help and you're in the area, this is the place to call. I know you've got a lot of great information online as well, and you guys answer the phone while we're in commercial breaks, so very hands-on facility.
I'm actually answering the phone now.
You are?
And Alex, yeah.
Wow, you're so passionate about this, and everyone's got a personal story, I think. How did you get into what you're doing today?
You know, I came into recovery, and I was in one of the most expensive recovery areas, and I found out that 30-day treatments were designed to fail. And we kept just filling the holes in the treatment to give people a fighting chance to actually recover. A lot of people where I'm from, parents would mortgage their house to send their kids to a treatment that would cost $50,000 or $70,000, and then the kids would get out and relapse, and they'd have nothing else to, nothing else to use. So we designed first a detox program, then an outpatient, then we were the first in our area to accept insurance, and we wanted to provide the highest quality care for the longest length of time for the least amount of money.
As someone who has really done a lot of research into what works, I want to ask you guys about some trending stories that we found this morning. This one, mind blown, basically. The headline for this trending story is, "New Rehab is treating addiction with marijuana." So we have a treatment center in Los Angeles using marijuana to help patients detox from drugs and alcohol. What's your take on that?
New dietary supplement to lose weight is treating with ice cream.
Yeah, right?
Is the equivalent of what you're saying.
I mean, I saw that and I said, that can't be real.
It's just marketing. So, you know, there's people that they want to try an easier or softer way. And with the drugs and the problems that there is, you can't, and we had talked about it earlier, it's like going to Vegas and you're a dollar slot player and then trying to go and play on the pennies.
Yeah.
Sooner or later you're going to go back to the dollars.
Yeah.
And it is, it's sad. I don't know how the Department of Health in California is even allowing that to go on, but it wouldn't be something I would recommend for sure.
It's a really bad idea.
It's replacing one addiction with another.
Yeah, it's like, if you have a wine problem and you quit your wine problem by drinking vodka.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't drink wine anymore. It's really bad, and the sad thing is that they probably have a waiting list. There's a lot of people probably calling going, that's the one I want to go to. Yeah, I'll be good with my heroin problem on.
The other thing is you can't get a baseline for what's going on if people are under the influence of something. So, the first part of treatment is to detox somebody and find out where they're at and figure out what's going on. So we do what's called a biopsychosocial, and we do a psych evaluation. I can't imagine doing that with somebody who's stoned.
Yeah.
It is, and you can't figure out what's actually happening with them. So I don't know. I'm sure that the people who own it are not in recovery.
Yeah, and it also goes back to what you do at Soba, Texas, which is treating the root of the problem. You're not trying to fix the problem by band-aiding it with something else. You're trying to figure out why this person is doing what they do, because usually there's an underlying reason. And once you fix that, then you're okay, right?
Yeah, there always is. And usually anxiety and depression are underlying with, especially with a lot of the opiate addicts that we get in. And it's not rocket science to figure that out, but you got to figure out what's causing it and then give tools to be able to deal with it. So
absolutely.
There's different aspects to it, and part is the clinical and psychological treatment, but then you have nutrition and fitness and getting back in the groove of getting the endorphins going. Then you have spiritual, because most of the people come in with no self-esteem and they need to, you know, find their value again. But probably most importantly on the long term is social. So you have to socially reintegrate without a drink or a drug in your hand, and it takes a while to be able to do that. And again, I'm not going to do it stoned.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? All right, we are going to go to break real quick, but I want to let you know that we are taking your questions on our Facebook page, and so if you want to leave an anonymous question, if you've got something to ask the guys, we can talk about it without using your name. It's facebook.com/News4SA, and we'll have more when we come back.
No one is perfect. We all have our inner struggles. It may be alcohol, drug, or any type of addiction. Soba Recovery Center is here to offer free help. You can get the help and free information by calling right now from the privacy of your own home. Don't let alcohol, drug, or any addiction ruin your life. If you or a loved one have alcohol, drug, or any addiction, get help by calling right now. Soba Recovery Center. Most private insurance accepted.
We are talking with our friends from Soba, Texas. It's a recovery center here in the San Antonio Hill Country area. Joining us is Greg Hanley, CEO and founder, Alex Dragici, Director of Operations, and actor Daniel Baldwin. And before we went to break, I mentioned that we're taking your questions on Facebook, and we did have a couple coming in. And one that I want to address right off the top is someone asking, how can I help a cop that's battling an addiction?
We help first responders all the time. Usually there's some PTSD that's involved. I have a policeman that's in treatment right now at one of my facilities, and his partner called me. And people just need to talk to him and let him know that they're worried about him and that maybe he could use, you know, kind of a reset.
Can you keep your job while going through recovery? Does that work for some people?
Absolutely.
You can?
Yeah, usually you get a medical leave, like any other thing, and you don't even really need to inform the job. I don't think it's legal for them to ask what's wrong.
I can imagine that would be a big stress.
Yeah,
for
we
people.
have people get a leave of absence all the time, just as if you had any other medical condition that you needed to treat.
It's actually just the opposite of what you would think. When I came to Greg, I had gone 8 times to the most famous, most expensive rehabs that there were. And I came to Greg's, and the people that I was working for at the time on a television series, I went to the executive producer of the show and I said, look, I have a problem right now. And he went, thank God.
Yeah, we know you have a problem.
You think they don't know?
Yeah,
if you're a cop, a fireman, these people know you through your career. They know something's wrong. And they want you to get help, but they know they can't force you. And so when you come to them, most of them are like, hey, take your time. You know, go get this done. Come back healthy. They support it 99% of the time.
People are afraid to say anything, though. And you can't be afraid to save somebody's life. It's not a, and it really comes down to that. And when I went to treatment, a lot of people I knew go, we knew that you had a problem, and I go, why didn't anybody say anything? And they were just afraid to. But once somebody did, then and it just starts the conversation, then I was on my way to recovery.
That's good to hear, and that's right along the lines with something that I know you guys, I hear from you a lot, that treating alcoholism or drug addiction is just like treating cancer. It should be just like treating cancer. And I think, and I'm hopeful that people are kind of catching along, and maybe we'll start to see that happen. Another trending topic is the U.S. Surgeon General wants Americans to see addiction as a brain disorder, not a moral failure. You know, this isn't something you wanted to happen. It's something that is happening up here, and it needs to be fixed that way.
Yeah, it's a mental health issue, and that's why I can get somebody off drugs and alcohol pretty quick, within a week usually. But it is the mental aspects that have affected them. I know it affected every aspect of my life, and I needed to learn how to deal with things, you know, in the real world. And it wasn't I wish that it was just a drug problem or an alcohol problem. We could just run people through and fix it all the time. Yeah. But it has so many aspects to it. And, you know, people would talk about these dual diagnosis centers. And I thought it was a big deal until I realized everybody is dual diagnosis. So when they took the drugs and alcohol out of me, I found out I had problems. I was a little disappointed. I thought I had a drug problem until I was clean. Then I go, oh man, I have problems. Now,
social anxiety.
Now I've got to work on those.
Yeah.
But you guys are helping other people get through those problems at Soba, Texas, and you are ready to deal with all those issues. So if it's something that you're facing, and again, you're here in the San Antonio area, whether you need a long-term program or you're looking for a little help to get you where you need to go, these are the guys who are passionate about helping you. Daniel, I want to talk to you for a minute because you recently did an interview. Greg has a magazine. It's called Recovery Today, and you sat down and chatted with football player David Vabora. Tell me a little bit about what you talked to him about.
Well, yeah, I feel so blessed to have had the opportunity to actually be the interviewer on a magazine that I've garnered the cover of. Greg's magazine is really, really informative for people who want to read up on what they're going through in the eyes of someone else, and that commonality that you get. When I spoke with David, it was amazing. He's so energetic and passionate about his path, and he had that moment where we called that epiphany, where he was injured, and so stereotypical situation we see from high school athletes. They don't have to be famous NFL players, where he got off the injury, and then teams started contacting him again, and he started looking at what it was like when he played at that level, the highest level of football in the NFL. It's a very elite club. And so he was gearing up and working out again, and the things that he would have to take in order to get to that place physically again. And I'm talking about steroids and other types of drugs that have to do with playing at that level that many of the players do, whether they admit it or not. And then the pain meds that would keep him functioning, because even without a sustainable injury, you're still constantly running into human beings, and it's very common that they're taking these pain pills. And he sat there as he was getting ready, and he thought, you know what I have now, the peace that I have and the life that I have back, that I don't do that anymore, did not outweigh the fame and the money and the stuff. And he said, yeah, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And so now he's dedicated his life to helping people that have this similar problem, like the three men on this couch right now. Yeah. But listening to his story and just kept continuing to nod my head about the feelings that he had, that lost, you know, that's why it's so important to understand that if there's fumes in the back of your car and you smell exhaust, rolling the window down is not going to take care of it. Yeah. You need to go patch the hole in the exhaust that's leaking the fuel. And that's what Greg's talking about in a layman's analogy. You know, using drugs and alcohol for me were because of all the things that I was trying to not deal with and feel that had to do with my past and some abuse issues and so on. And it wasn't until I met Greg in his recovery center that I was able to come to terms with those things.
And Greg is answering the phone now. So if you've got questions, if you've got questions, maybe you're looking for some guidance, maybe you have a question about getting someone into Soba, Texas, the phone number is on your screen. It is 866-948-9014. We're taking your questions on Facebook. You can also post them there, and we'll answer them coming up here in just a few minutes. Welcome back. We are are talking with Greg Hanley and Alex Drogici from Soba, Texas Recovery Center, and actor Daniel Baldwin here as well this morning. Before we went to break, I mentioned we're answering your questions on Facebook. You're looking at the Facebook as we speak, answering people, and we were talking a little bit too about what happens when someone calls the facility. I mean, getting someone on the phone is hard, whether you're calling your doctor, your dentist, you know, anybody. But you are answering the phone.
Yeah.
If it's not you, it's Alex. If it's not Alex, it's the director.
Jane, who's an alumni, or Shannon, who is probably one of the top clinicians that I know. She was the director of Soba, Texas, and now she's the COO of all Soba management. So you're going to talk to somebody who speaks your language.
Okay.
And it's okay to call and just talk a little bit. If you have questions or you're worried, it's just a phone call. It's private, and we'll just kind of kick some ideas around.
Get you going in the right direction, and you know, if it's not something that you can help with, you'll find someone to help them.
Well, information is power.
Yeah.
And so one of the great things I remember coming out of a hotel room and thinking to myself, they've shut my credit cards off. I have nowhere to go. I'm on television, a primetime network television show. I haven't shaved or showered in days, and I've got nowhere I can go. And I called, and he answered the phone, and I said, I don't even know if my insurance is going to cover it anymore. I really don't. He went, where are you? And I said, I'm in Santa Monica. He goes, just give me an intersection, and I'll come get you. And so, you know, yes, we'll figure out something, but the idea of just talking about it and getting the information, because a lot of times it's not the actual addict, it's the mom or the wife or whoever it is, and there's something very soothing about knowing that there are potential answers out there. It may not happen. You're not going to call up and give all your information sometimes. Alex, I'll tell you, we talk sometimes to people. It could be months and months of, and finally something else happens, God forbid, but something else can happen that we can't do anything about afterwards.
Well, and people have a different idea of what rehab looks like or where it's at. So we're over by SeaWorld, and we're on a ranch, and it's not a hospital, it's not a punishing environment, and when you call, what I like to do is walk you through the entire process from what's going to happen the minute you get there until, and so you know what it's going to be. And a lot of times, if you're just calling treatment center lines, you have these hired guns that are like car salesmen, and they don't care what you go or what's going on. I first listen to see what's going on. If I can help, which usually I can, I'm going to let you know that. And if it's something that is beyond my reach, then I'm going to help direct you into a helpful situation. At least you're going to get some information of what to do. Okay, so there's no reason not to call. The number is on your screen. It's Soba, Texas. I want to answer some other questions from Facebook. We were hearing for some people wondering what to do if you're an addict and you have no money and no insurance. That's not a reason to continue to be an addict, is it?
No. There are facilities that can help with that also. Like exactly what Greg was just talking about. At the least case, you'll get information. If you call and we're not the right facility for you, we can at least point you in a direction and get that ball rolling to help you with recovery. I know for the women, Alpha Home is a wonderful place. And that's here in San Antonio. We have I went down and I was blown away at how nice the program is.
Another question coming in from Facebook came from a person wondering about alcoholism being hereditary. Is that just the way it sometimes works out, or is that a proven fact? Well,
here's the answer to that question. So you mentioned the Surgeon General acknowledging that this is a mental health issue. The AMA has acknowledged for decades that there is a genetic predisposition for addiction. So they have now seen a gene that is broken or fractured or somehow manipulated that has a propensity that you may become an addict. That doesn't mean if you have the gene, but certainly if you look at my family, there's all three women, my mother and both my sisters, are affected with eating. My brothers, one brother is not in recovery. Myself and two of my brothers have been in recovery for decades. So it is absolutely in my family, and it is a hereditary thing. It does not mean that you're going to become an addict if it's in your family, but you can usually take any addict and say, oh yeah, my grandfather was an alcoholic. Very rarely have I ever seen somebody who says, oh no, no one in my family ever had that.
Right.
Or you can be like me, I'm Irish.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that leads us into another question from a viewer about warning signs. Is there something that they can look for that are common signs to someone dealing with an addiction?
Wow.
Where do we start?
Is there a list? Yeah.
So when it comes to drugs and alcohol, and especially, it's just changes in behaviors. Sleep, people they're hanging out with, money, financial, there's all those type of things.
Okay.
Prescriptions running out before you're supposed to.
The bottom line, if you're wondering if somebody needs treatment, is drugs or alcohol consistently interfering with them having a good life.
Okay.
It's just that simple.
Greg says that the greatest thing, and I've said this 100 times before, I say it to every person I talk to on the phone, and that is, no one knows your kid better than you. No one knows your husband better than you or your wife. If something seems like it's up, it's up, for sure.
The phone number is there on your screen. It's Soba, Texas. We'll be right back.
No one is perfect. We all have our inner struggles. It may be alcohol, drug, or any type of addiction. Soba Recovery Center is here to offer free help. You can get the help and free information by calling right now from the privacy of your own home. Don't let alcohol, drug, or any addiction ruin your life. If you or a loved one have alcohol, drug, or any addiction, get help by calling right now. Soba Recovery Center. Most private insurance accepted.